Greetings, dear viewers. My name is Luc Tessier, and this is A Form of Sound Words. Author and columnist Mark Stein once wrote that the assumption of permanence is the illusion of every age. The idea that life is static and unchanging truly is insane, as clearly things are constantly changing. And yet, we've all fallen into the trap of being lulled into a sense of routine, a sense that the way things are now is how things will ever be. The Apostle Peter fell into this trap 2,000 years ago, the night the Lord Jesus Christ was arrested. For nearly 3 years, the Apostle Peter had been a faithful disciple of the Lord, going from place to place, witnessing the works and teachings of Jesus. He saw good days and not so good days as he ministered with the Lord throughout the Holy Land. While he experienced some truly miraculous, mind-blowing events, a certain routine, no doubt, had set in, which leads us to the night of the Last Supper and the Lord's arrest in Gethsemane. The Lord warned the disciples of what was coming. In the upper room, the Lord said, "And as they did eat, he said, Verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And in the garden of Gethsemane, he said, Then saith Jesus unto them, All ye shall be offended because of me this night. For it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad." Now, despite these warnings, Peter wasn't at all prepared for what was coming. Instead, we find him sleepy-eyed in the garden. Matthew chapter 26, verse 36 to 41. Then cometh Jesus with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and saith unto the disciples, Sit ye here, while I go and pray yonder. And he took with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Then saith he unto them, My soul is exceeding sorrowful even unto death. Tarry ye here, and watch with me. And he went a little further, and fell on his face, and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. And he cometh unto the disciples, and findeth them asleep, and saith unto Peter, What? Could ye not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. And even after the shame of being caught in disobedience, and the Lord's desperate plea, Matthew 26, verse 42 to 43 says, He went away again the second time and prayed, saying, O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me except I drink it, thy will be done. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. No doubt, Peter didn't appreciate the gravity of the oncoming storm. He likely thought he would get some sleep, wake up the next day, and carry on with the ministry of the gospel with the Lord. But that's not what happened. The highlights of Peter's night. John chapter 18 and verse 10. Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it, and smote the high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Matthew 26, verse 57 to 58. And they that had laid hold on Jesus led him away to Caiaphas the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. But Peter followed him afar off unto the high priest's palace, and went in and sat with the servants to see the end. In Matthew chapter 26, verse 69 to 70. Now Peter sat without in the palace, and a damsel came unto him, saying, Thou also wast with Jesus of Galilee. But he denied before them all, saying, I know not what thou sayest. And finally, Matthew chapter 26 and verse 75. And Peter remembered the word of Jesus, which said unto him, Before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. And he went out and wept bitterly. So, not a stellar night for St. Peter. And the whole sequence of failures started with a lack of attention to prayer. Oh, but who hasn't been overcome with tiredness, you might say, in Peter's defense? Well, to that, let me remind you of Peter's all-nighter. That's right. Isn't it interesting how in the garden, sleep won over prayer? But after the Lord's arrest, Peter didn't sleep a wink. He was up all night, fumbling from one compromise to another, from one sin unto another. Funny thing, isn't it? Too tired to pray, but too worried and distraught to sleep when things went sideways. Dear viewers, there's a lesson here. None of us know what's coming. None of us know when our world could be turned upside down. None of us know when life will throw us into some crisis where a prepared, spiritually strong soul is required. That's why the Bible tells us to pray without ceasing. It tells us to watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. It tells us, praying always, with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. I know full well the world I'm living in. It's a world filled with distraction, and Christians are just as affected by the distractions as the unbelieving world. I also know that faithfulness to prayer is usually the first thing to get choked off by the distractions. Prayer is put off to later and later, and when later comes around, well, sleep wins out. And then you have Christians wholly unprepared for the trials and tribulations of this life. Brothers and sisters, let us learn from Peter's failure. See how terribly he fared that night. It's extremely doubtful any of us would have fared better under the circumstances. The key is prayer. Disciplined, constant, faithful, Spirit-filled, and Spirit-led prayer. Won't you, this week, determine to set a regular, sweet hour of prayer with the Lord? And if an hour seems long and onerous, I remind you of the Lord Jesus Christ's words to Peter in the Garden of Gethsemane. What? Could ye not watch with me 1 hour? And with that, dear viewers, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.